So now that you have it all pinned, next step you're going to find the edge of the ruffle here, and you're going to start a few inches from that, probably like about 4 inches or so from the edge, and stitch all of this down. What you want to do is you want to go just beyond that line where you have the gathers. It's about 3/8 inch on mine, so I'm going to sew it about 1/2 inch and just flatten everything out of the way as you go. Okay, so now that you've finished coming around this, you're going to want to stop stitching about 4 inches from the other edge of the ruffle, so just go ahead and back tack and set your stitch in, and go ahead and remove the garment. So now you just have to deal with the edges of the ruffle. I've got about 4 inches of spacing here, 4 inches of spacing here. I'm just going to go ahead and unpin these. So I'm going to take these two sections and put the fabric facing in, and go ahead and pin this. You want to line it up at the bottom. Now you're going to stitch this together and then finish the seam. Now that you've got that last seam in, just go ahead and pin that down. And all this excess here, just go ahead again, pick the stitches, tighten it down, pin the ruffle, and go ahead and sew this part down. So now that you've got the ruffle completely stitched on, we're going to do a little edge stitching here. What you want to do is take your seam here that you've got completely finished, and make sure all of that fabric ends up facing upwards towards the top of the skirt. So this is all tucked away in here. What we're going to do is we're going to stitch here along the very edge and tack all this down. This will help the ruffle lay nicely. Here's where you want your machine set up, right on the edge of that. I'm going to try to stitch one-handed, so here goes. And basically got this little bit of stitching right on the edge. Okay, now I've taken the piece that we're going to use for our waistband. Was that big long piece. I just went ahead and folded it in half and ironed it. So we're going to use this to make a casing for the waistband. Go ahead and take your skirt, right side of the fabric facing out, and you've also got the right side of the fabric facing out on this. I'm going to go ahead and start pinning this on here. So overlap slightly, and pin. And you're going to go around this, the entire top of your skirt, and pin all this down. I like to try to push all the seams to one direction, so I'm going to put all my seams towards the right. Get that. And go all the way around the entire skirt, pinning this waistband on. Just leave the ends to hang for now. And just for the record, make sure you are pinning this so the fold, the crease is at the bottom and the open part of the fabric is at the top. So now that you've got the entire waistband pinned down, you're going to want to start about 4 inches away from the edge of the waistband and stitch all the way around, and then end about 4 inches from the other edge of the waistband. Stitch a 1/2 inch in on your seam line there. Okay, now that it's stitched down, go ahead and keep those pins in there and put a mark along the seam line where your waistband is going to connect. So this is my back seam line. I want the waistband to match up with that, so I'm going to go ahead and mark this here. And then do the same thing with the other end. Mark where this one intersects. Okay, go ahead and unpin. Okay, you've got them opened up. You want to match the marks. So right, so the fabric facing in towards each other. Match those marks up on top. And match the same marks up on the bottom. Now go ahead and take this, iron it flat, and draw a line between your two marks. You got a straight line here, and then you're going to stitch along that. I'm going to go ahead and thread the elastic through the waistband. The easiest way I found to do this is to put a safety pin on the end of your elastic, which I've already got measured and marked out. Got an extra inch here for seam allowance, extra inch marked over here. Then I've got the length that'll make the skirt fit properly when all stitched in. You want to go ahead and kind of fold this in, slide it in here, and once you've got it started you can feel the safety pin in here. Try not to open the safety pin, be really careful, but grab the end and slide it through. Pull it into the casing. This takes a little bit of time, but eventually I'll get through there. Now that you've threaded the elastic through, go ahead and match up your endpoints there. You're going to stitch right along here, and then when finished, clip the excess off here and underneath. So now that you got the elastic stitched together, pull all the gathers to either side of the opening, and go ahead and take this, push your elastic down, fold it over, and go ahead and pin the rest of this down. You're going to start that stitching back up where you left off, finish across, and make sure you don't get the elastic caught in there while you're doing so. I'm just going to match up the back here along that seam. And so just go ahead and close all that off. So your last step is to finish that seam, and as you can see here I've just overlocked mine. Make sure if you're doing something like an overlock or a zigzag that you do stretch the fabric as you go so everything doesn't get bundled up together there and locked into place. And then at this point you should be finished. Alex, I'm wearing your skirt! Yay! See how big and pretty it is? Ooh. We can spin with the melon belly. Now I have a very dizzy cat. Sort of.